Morning, guys. Okay, today in the Ground Pounder series we're going to talk about hydration and how I carried back in the day whenever I didn't have really a lot of gear. Now let's qualify. I live in a part of the South where there's water everywhere, so I literally do not have to go more than like at the most a mile in any direction, and I'm going to hit a stream, a branch, a creek, something, or some source of water that I can harvest for my needs. But even then, in this thick cover that I live in, there's just times when it's just not convenient to be able to go get water because it's so hard to get in there to it and back. So for traveling, I would carry, during the heat of the summer, like it is now, 2 canteens. Let me show you how my rig ran. Okay, first was my primary canteen, which rode right here. Now notice that I do not have anything straight up and down my spine. It's off to the side on my hip, right here. This is to prevent injury, so should I fall backwards, this is not a brick right there on my spine to cause additional spine damage, okay? So I want it out of the way. So I have 2 canteens. This is my primary canteen. I'm going to pull it and utilize it as I go along the trail. When this canteen runs empty, I will pull this canteen out that's full, put it into this keeper, and put this canteen into that keeper, and start looking for a water source right then. Because I have 1 full canteen left to go. That means as I'm traveling, start looking for that water source. I got a little time. I don't have to panic right now and go get it. Keep drinking, stay hydrated. How much water do I want to drink? I want to be drinking a canteen of water at least every 2 hours, if not more, to stay hydrated in this heat. I also will quite often throw in my pack a little bit of powdered Gatorade to put into a canteen cup and add water to for the meal time to give a little flavor to the water, and also to give me a few more electrolytes and things like that. You've got to stay hydrated, or this heat will just suck your energy out and make you a casualty. So you've got to go out of your way. Now, by running these 2 canteens, back in my day, I boiled more than I did anything else. And that was a disadvantage because, remember, that canteen's got to cool off. And if the ambient temperature's in the 90s or 100 around here, it don't cool off that fast. And drinking hot water just is horrible. It doesn't cool you, it actually raises your core, and you don't feel like you've quenched your thirst. You feel you're even more thirsty drinking it. So I don't want to drink hot water. I want to cool it as much as possible. I like the old school canteen covers that were canvas that had the lining in it. And I've talked about this before, where I would just dunk the whole thing and let evaporative cooling try to cool my water a little bit, or at least keep it below ambient temperature a little bit, so it did seem cool when I was drinking it. But it was always the one, then the backup, rotate. Now when I got to my water source, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drink as much of that cool canteen as I can. And then I'm going to refill both canteens full. I want to be fully hydrated before I shove off. Now if it's really, really hot, it's the dead of summer, it's August or something, that's when I would carry purification tabs, water treatment tabs, and just treat it that way, because that water is just not going to cool off in a timely manner where I can keep hydrated and not having this hot iron brick hanging on my hip of hot water, see. So I would just use that way. That way, if I find a cool stream where it's coming right out of the ground, I can still keep that temperature, I can keep that coolness. I can put my tabs in there and actually fill the canteen full and set the canteen in that water to keep it cool. So after the 30 minutes, I can drink cool water. Now, how to tell if you are hydrated? I know Mark Baker, back in Living History, he quoted from someone's journal, a long hunter or a long hunter woodsman, back in the colonial days. And it said that they would go to a stream when their thirst became unignorable. They would find a clear, cool stream, and there they would drink until their urine turned clear. Okay. When you're fully hydrated, the color of your urine should be clear. If it's got color to it, it's, you know, filtering your blood, it's doing what it's supposed to. But if you got, looks like Gatorade orange urine, you're too dehydrated. Keep drinking and keep peeing until you clear your urine. And most Americans stay at a situation of being dehydrated to begin with. We just don't like to pee that much. So, like we found in the military, before major operations, they would have all their soldiers hydrate as much as possible. And when they're on the way in to where they're going, they'd pass around things full of water, tank up. The Germans did that in World War II. They figured out that once you took that first sip of your canteen, a barrel wasn't enough. But if I could hydrate you till you were fully hydrated, you performed better and went a lot longer before you had to open that canteen. And therefore you gained some momentum. So hydration is a big, big factor. So if I'm going to be going out in the heat, let's say tomorrow I'm going out in the morning. Well, tonight after dinner and everything else, I'm going to drink a lot of ice water. Yes, I'm going to pee a lot. That's fine. When I get up in the morning, the first thing I'm going to do is get me a great big glass of water, maybe throw just a touch of something to add a little flavor to it. It ain't got to be, but you know what I mean. And sit there and drink a whole glass with breakfast or whatever, if I've even going to eat breakfast. And then I get out on the trail. I want to be fully loaded and hydrated before I ever hit the trail, because that's going to give me many more hours before I get so dehydrated that what I'm intaking is not sufficient to flush it. Because I'm going to be active, I'm going to be sweating, I'm going to be moving, I'm going to be in this environment, and you can't just step out of it. So from say 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. it's hot, and you just perspire just sitting there doing nothing. So if I'm exerting, I'm toting a pack, I'm doing whatever, I'm going to perspire a lot. And so I need to do that. And that's, like I mentioned, I like to carry Tang for in the morning, and I carried powdered Gatorade, pre-made up sugar with it. So all I got to do is just throw a little bit into a canteen cup, top it up, and I've got a flavor, and I'm adding electrolytes and stuff back to me. So the 2 canteen system. Now, if I'm going somewhere and the place, I already know where I'm going and I'm camping, but there isn't a convenient water source there, and we're camping and it's not too long a hike in, I would carry additional water, like the old military 2-quart canteen. Now, these with a strap, you just sling over your back. You don't have to carry it in the strap. You don't even have to carry it in this. This is the carrier that comes with it. But these had an advantage. I would fill these up and put a t-shirt over, make a pillow out of it at night. Worked fairly well for that, to get my head up off the deck when I was ground pounding. And something else, one of the reasons the military liked this was, as the water was used in it, you could squeeze this and take the air out and put the cap back on so it didn't slosh. Otherwise the canteen would slosh, 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 slosh. As you were walking, that could give away your position. So they would drink and they'd squeeze air out and tighten the cap up. And so that was a distinct advantage. This one is a old one I've had. I think it says 1972, and I've probably had it since 1980. It's got pucker marks and everything else in it where it's been used a lot. In fact, that is a bite mark. I bit it. We had an accident on a camp out, and I was in a lot of pain. And my left knee had been dislocated. Well, let's just say my kneecap went where it wasn't supposed to be. And so we were a long way in, and so my traveling companion and I figured out how we was going to do this, and so we got the leg straight and got everything back in position, improvised a splint, and I hopped out. But the laying there, you know, getting me, I had locked around the base of a tree and got like this, with this underneath my face, and he grabbed the leg and pulled it, and we got it straight and got it to straighten back out and got everything back in position. This is one of them field expeditions. You ain't got a lot of choice. You got to do something now, guys, because you're 5 miles in, you know, and he ain't toting me out, and ain't nobody gonna come in here and get me. So you got to do it yourself. And I ended up biting that thing. I'm amazed I didn't puncture it, but I was in a lot of pain. Another favorite is one of these old Boy Scout canteens. Now this is much smaller. This is just, you know, like a quart or something. But if you'll notice, and one reason I like these, that's felty. It's canvas on the outside, but it's got a felt liner, which means if I dunk and wet this whole thing, this is a very thin aluminum canteen. Guess what? It cools the water. And so as I carry this on the strap, and these little straps just, they roll up like string. I reinforce mine with a little strip of leather so it lay flat instead of just wadding up to like a thin little cord and cut into the arm. But you get this wet and sling it, and as you're moving and the air is passing around, it helps cool the water a little bit. That's a big thing down here in my heat. And lastly, of course, my grail. Now today this is what I run. And I would run a grail and a canteen, because with this I can still take advantage of that cool water, right? I don't have to wait for chemical time or whatever. I can find a source right now. Already got sweat rolling, guys. I can find a source right now. I can fill this up, fill up my canteen, fill this back up, chug as much of this as I can stand till I'm about to bust, fill it up again, and then get back on the trail and have cool water without having to sacrifice anything. So when I get out there, the first thing I'm gonna, once I've refilled and I get back on the trail, I ain't gonna need water for a little bit, right? Because I just hydrated. So I'm gonna get a couple of miles in before I need water. And the first water I'm gonna grab is gonna be out of that canteen. This becomes the backup canteen, because it actually insulates it a little bit, the way all this plastic is around it and everything. So it'll keep the water cooler longer than my regular canteen. So I start drinking out of that canteen. And when I run empty on it, I've got water right there. I find a water source. I fill up canteens. I fill me up, and etc. And this becomes the primary filtering device. And it keeps me hydrated. I got a quick grab. I can top up at any time. And I've also got a canteen for storage to carry more than this, because this does not produce a quart at a time. It's less than a quart. It takes about 2 of these runs to fill up a canteen. But that's enough whenever I'm doing the canteen and I'm traveling. So, if I'm going to be going to a place that may not have easily accessible water, and I'm planning on camping there, then I'm going to carry that. That water in those 2 liter canteen will probably ride on the top of the pack, and that's my cooking water. The canteen on my hip and this is my trail water to keep me hydrated. That's the water I'm carrying strictly for cooking. So when I get there, I'm going to need a pretty good bit of volume to put into a bush pot or whatever. That's what that's for. And like I just mentioned, as it's used up, I roll it up because it gets smaller and smaller. Till at the end, it's just rolled up tight. It's about that big around, the neck's sticking out, and it's in the top of the pack. Don't take up hardly any space. That's how old Blackie ran his canteens in the southern heat back in the ground pounding days. I hope you enjoyed this, guys. And you old veterans that lived out of a rucksack and a canteen and LBE web belt and them old military canteens, tell me what you remember, you know. What tips and tricks. I've seen them Army canteens turned into showers, where they would take the cap and drill holes in it and just have an extra cap, you know, where they could screw it on, turn it upside down, and shower with it. I've seen them turned into drip devices. I've seen them turned into all kinds of stuff. But an old canteen can do a lot for you. And so tell me some of your stories. Let me hear about it. I'd love to hear from you, and I may pick up a trick or two from you guys. And please, before you go, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Till next time, guys, I'm Blackie wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.